Hello everyone. Thank you for joining this session. Today we're going to talk about hunting on OneNote Malware, a practical guide for blue teams. My name is Hiren Sadhwani, and let's start the presentation. A quick introduction about myself. I'm working as security analyst at Forescout Technologies. Before, previously I was working at PwC India, and here I am working on threat hunting and DFIR related work. I occasionally do blogs on Medium or LinkedIn. You can connect with me on these IDs. So let's start with the agenda. Today we're gonna today we're gonna talk about what is OneNote malware, why we are talking about that, why it is in trend, which threat actors are using this technique, what are the different TTPs, and then we will look at some of the examples. In the second part, we will do a quick introduction on the threat hunting and its life cycle, how we can hunt OneNote malware. And as I have mentioned some of the hunting queries, and we'll also talk about how we can prevent these attacks. Yeah. Okay. So what is OneNote? OneNote is basically a note-keeping application developed by Microsoft, and it comes with the Office and Office 365 product suite. What happened recently during the December 2022 that attackers have used this OneNote and abused to deliver malware to the targeted users. The abusing technique of OneNote was first introduced by the researcher called Americ Nasi in his report called Red Team with OneNote, and it was published in the August 2022. And the attacks we have seen in the December 22 onwards. So the OneNote can execute and launch multiple LOL bins. It can use MSHTAW script. It can launch any other file type, any other LOL bins, and to use for malicious purpose. And it can this LOL bins are executing within the OneNote. And just the file types which are used. Some of them are CHM, HTA, JavaScript, Windows script files, VBS, batch files, and multiple other file types can be executed within the OneNote files. These embedded scripts are usually the downloaders, which can go to the internet, to the attacker server, and download the second stage payload from the attacker server and compromise the system. So we talk about why it is in trend, because one of the flexibility that OneNote provide is that you can add any kind of file into the OneNote document. It can be text file, it can be image, videos, PDFs, or some of the other file types we have mentioned that CHM file, batch file. This any type of file type we can embed within the OneNote, and this flexibility has interested attackers to use for malicious purpose. And one of the other reason is that Microsoft has blocked macros in December, in the February 2022, and so the attackers have to search for to look for new attacking techniques for initial access. And after the February 22, the Microsoft blocks macros, we have seen uptrend in the use of initial access for LNK files, ISO files, VHD files. These are different containerization techniques we have seen for initial access techniques. And the later December, we have seen OneNote for initial access. Right. Let's look at some of the stats. This is the initial stats shared by the Proofpoint research team. So, yeah. So this was during the December, the campaign has just started. It was less than 5 campaigns, and in the January it jumped to the more than 50. And these campaigns were dropping this different malwares, async, QSR, Agent Tesla, Quackbot, and many other kind of malwares tossed out during the initial trends. Later, this is one of the graphs shared by the ours team. They have shared data from 1st January to 21st March, and these are the states from their endpoints they have seen. If you can see the graph, it goes from the very few to till the up to 8,000 or 9,000 infections to the endpoints which they have blocked. So it's so wild during the first few months in the 2023. This is one of the stats shared by the Trellix, the targeted industries where the OneNote malware has used, right from the manufacturing, high-tech, telecom, finance, governments, healthcare, transportation. Every industry was targeted during the time. So how they were targeting, what are the TTPs they have used? So how this attack happens, it starts with the suspicious phishing email and which contains the URL and asks user to go to the internet, go to this attacker site and download the file. This stage, there are two things. It can be attachment of .1 file, it can be a zip file, it can be a URL to ask user to download the OneNote file. And once OneNote is, once you open the OneNote, you will be asked to, you will not able to see the content of the file. You will ask to double click on the open button or view file button. Once you open that, there's an embedded file execute such as HTA or batch file, CHM file that will download the additional payload from the internet and execute this additional file. Right. Similarly, for the ICID, there was a .1 execution, then which executed .batch file, and that batch file has executed PowerShell, and PowerShell has downloaded the DLL file, and that was the ICID malware. Later, we have seen the multiple execution, the Quackbot. In the previous talk, staff has shared a lot of interesting information on Quackbot that and then she has also mentioned about that how Quackbot is quickly changes their TTPs, right? You can see there are multiple TTPs used by Quackbot, .1 executing .chm file, and chm file is executing PowerShell, and here Windows script file is used, which used curl.exe to download the Quackbot file, and JSC file, and the multiple lots of files have used by the Quackbot and the other malwares as well with similar TTPs. One thing is common, you can see the .1 file is executing this file, so we can look for these events when any execution happening from the .1 files, so we can look for those events. Memes, how can a presentation be without the memes, right? Credit goes to their authors. Like so previously when there is a when there's a macro, when there was macros launching of any PowerShell executable from the Microsoft files, from Word, PowerPoint or Excel, it was a big deal for defenders. But nowadays that macros are not there, then this is taken from the WinWord to the OneNote. Attackers are also looking for the new techniques such as OneNote and not looking into the macro-enabled files, since macros have been blocked. This is one of the amazing attack path has been shared by the Trellix report. As I mentioned, that you will the user will get the phishing email. That phishing email can be of two things. One it is a zip file, or it can be directly .1 file. It can also be a URL to a user to download the OneNote malware from the attacker server. The goal is to deliver user a OneNote document. Once targeted user received the OneNote document and you open the file, it will ask user to double click on the file to view the file. Once user clicks on double click on those buttons, the embedded files will be executed. As we discussed, these are the different embedded files. It can be JavaScript, JSC, Windows script files, batch file or PowerShell, CHM file, and lots of other files. There are some examples where there are multiple files are used, like in the JS file as called the VBS file, and VBS file called the PowerShell execution, and PowerShell has downloaded the malware. Similarly, the JCS directly called the PowerShell and then download the QuakeBot. In the one of the example, it is download directly called the OneNote has directly called the PowerShell, and PowerShell has downloaded the different kind of malwares from the targeted user. Right. So let's look at some of the examples. As I said, you cannot see the content of the file. If you open the document, it will ask user to click on the view button. When you click on it, it will execute the embedded file. This is the earlier example from the December, which was themed on the Christmas gift, and it was delivered to it was delivered to the targeted users as luring as a Christmas gift. These are some of the other examples where they are delivering XFORM and async malware. Similarly, there was another theme based on the shipment where there's a .1 file was shared. The phishing emails seem mostly on the shipment, invoices, and legal tenders. So look out for those emails if they're containing any suspicious links or attachments. This is one of the examples shared by Sophos. If you can see the similar TTPs asking the user to click on open. Once you hover on the button, you will see it will show you which file is gonna execute. If you click on open button, you will see attachment.htf file will be open. Let's see the content of that htf file. It will, if you can see in this code, that it will launch the ActiveX object file and launch wscript. Wscript will launch the curl.exe, and curl.exe will download the file from this URL and this file path, and it will execute this file. This one.png is not an image file; it's a malicious file, which comes with the OneNote. And later this file it will run with the run DLL32. In the command line, if you observe the run DLL32 with the wind command, it's a QuakeBot. So if you are seeing this wind command and run DLL32 together, you are infected with the probably QuakeBot. And later on, they have killed the MSHD and deleted the file. So what happens when user clicks on that open button, it will throw one warning dialog box to the user, but usually user ignore this button and just clicks on OK and executes the file. In one of the examples shared by Bleeping Computer, that there are multiple files were within the document, so all these VBS files were the same. So if a user clicks on any of that anywhere on the button, it will execute the file, and that VBS file contains this code. So if you see that it will launch the W script and using the PowerShell and invoke web request as a parameter. With the URI flag, it will download a file from the attacker server. The file name is testicle.1 and it will be saved as the remittance.1 in the user's temp directory. And similarly, another W script will launch the CMD and PowerShell, the same invoke web request as a command, and download the elevate.batch file, which is saved in the temp directory system32.batch. So what happened here is, like, if you see if you user cannot able to see the content, so once user clicks on this, it will download the .1 file, which will show the content to the user. So user will think that I have downloaded the legitimate file, but in the background it will also download the another file which does the malicious thing. So till now we have learned about what is OneNote malware and what are their different TTPs. The main thing about the talk is how we can hunt this. So let's so if you are new into the threat hunting field, here's a quick introduction. Threat hunting is basically a proactive approach to detecting and hunting in the network. Basically, we are searching for unusual or suspicious activities in the network, and the goal is to detect and respond before anything harm happens to the system. So basically, we are detecting and responding to the attacks before any alert comes to us, right? If any SIM part or any security solution throws you an alert and later you are working on that, that's a normal IR process and normal SOC analyst work. But threat hunting is that like we are doing hunting for unusual activities before any security solution tells any that you have this bad things going on. We'll also look for the what is threat hunting life cycle. This is one of the image shared from the threathunting.net. If you are new to the threat hunting, you must read this PDF. It will clear all your basics on the threat hunting. So it starts with the creation of hypothesis. What is hypothesis? That we are thinking of an activity, unusual activity that might have happened or in our network, like any attacker has any APT group, any attacker or any malware has compromised our system, and we have to look for their techniques which attackers have shared. Like so first we are creating the hypothesis, and based on that we are investigating with our tools and techniques. Once we do investigate, and we might get new patterns as well, right? If you are going for a hunting, you will see the new patterns, new techniques, and you will understand more about your network. And if you find anything, you need to document all your findings. And if you finding any true positive, you need to start your response process and inform your stakeholders. And if you are finding any true positive, you can also create detection rules and signatures based on that. And again, the loop will continue with the next hypothesis. Similarly, there's a one of the other life cycle shared by the expel.com blog. It shows step-by-step process. You can, in the first step, you need to pick a attacker tactic. You can use MITRE attack. There are all different types of tactics available, and every tactic has different techniques, right? From the reconnaissance to the action impact. Every tactic has their multiple techniques, right? So pick up any tactic. For example, if you are picking up execution and took the PowerShell, so start with the PowerShell and look out for any activity, any unusual activities related to PowerShell. So you determine the hypothesis, and now you have to find out and investigate based on this hypothesis. You also need to gather data. The data will be your sysmon logs, your Windows process creation events, your EDR events, with the command line enabled for all such logs. And you need to hunt based on those queries. You might once you go for hunting, you might get lots of data, volumes of logs. Threat hunting is finding a needle in the key hashtag. So you will get a lot of data. You have to filter out the usual and unusual activities. If you are finding the unusual activity, as I said, you need to review your results. You need to finding your documents, automate your stuff, so that such activities can happen in the future. You can easily get a detection. So these are the 5 different steps of threat hunting. Now look at how we can hunt the OneNote malware. So some of the things like look for the email attachments where the .1 file is executed, where the .1 file is attached with the emails. So you can look for your email security logs. You will find the attachments and URLs. Look, you can also look for PowerShell command line. As we have seen in this, some of the examples, there are the PowerShell command lines executions where the invoke web request, download string, encoded command. Encoded command can be used in multiple ways. I can -enc, -e, encoded. The multiple commands are. These are the some of the few examples. There are multiple for PowerShell. You can look for. It's just not only related to OneNote, but you can get multiple suspicious activities by looking for that. You can also look for run-DLL32 executions from other unusual directories such as program data, app data, time directory, or downloads folder, or any other folder other than system32. You will find the suspicious stuff there. And one of the other things is that any execution happening from where the parent process is OneNote.exe, you definitely need to look out for that. One of the other thing is that when there are the embedded file attachments are executed, it usually comes from the temp directory. The OneNote.exe temp directory is app data local temp OneNote, and from the exported folder in the temp directory. So look out for those events as well from the exported folder. Here comes the part of the hunting queries. So this queries you can use based. You can modify these queries based on your SIM or your any security solution. So these are some generalized format. Like the first is where the email attachments contain .1. So data source, your data source should be email security solution, and file attachment contains .1 file, right? And the other is where the command line contains suspicious file execution. Here I have not mentioned the data source. You can pick up any data source. It can be Sysmon, it can be Windows process creation, it can be your EDR solution. So you can look for any such executions based on these files. You might get lots of data, but you have to filter out to find your stuff. Another is where the run-DLL32 execution happens, where the command line is run-DLL32 and with the win command. So this is particularly for the Quackbot, where the win command is used as parameter. The next is about the from the proxy logs, you can search for the request URL field where this file downloaded from there. If any user gets an email and clicks on the malicious URL, you will find that stuff in the proxy logs. And if any file is downloaded like .1, .zip, .dll file, you might get some interesting stuff. The others are where the OneNote executable is creating suspicious file from the Windows Sysmon logs, where the event ID is 11, and where the process is OneNote, and target file contains any of this execution. You will get some interesting stuff if you are getting any results. The next one would be the OneNote is executing any Windows LOLWin. So look out for this small logs where the event ID is 1 and parent process is OneNote. The next one would be the PowerShell command lines. As I mentioned earlier, the PowerShell and the command line contains these parameters as invoke web request, encoding, download. So I just mentioned the 3. There are huge lots of PowerShell suspicious command lines you will find on the internet, and you just need to modify your queries. Another is any run-DLL32 execution from the unusual directories such as program data, app data, or temp directory, anything. you can modify this query as well. So all these queries are not only related to OneNote, but it's basically for all the most kinds of malwares and loaders you will find from these queries. So let's now go for the prevention part. So one thing, if you are not using OneNote in your organization, just remove it from. If you are not using, you can block this application. And if it is required to use, then there is a block from Huntress, which was recently released, and which was named as addressing initial access. And you can look out for those blogs. They have shared some PowerShell one-liners to block this OneNote from executing any embedded files. So basically, they were blocking from the registry part, so that such malicious execution cannot happen from OneNote. Also, do block .1 files from the email attachments. And the main part is always the user awareness. Aware users about any new different kinds of phishing emails and malware attacks, how they need to be aware them about not clicking on any unknown files or from unknown senders. Even if it is coming from the known senders, double check from using other parameters, like if they have really sent this file, and check with them by other mediums. So just user awareness is always a must. So the summary part, let's go to the closing part. What we have seen till now, what we have done till now is like OneNote it's a legitimate application from Microsoft, but it is abused by the attackers to deliver malware to the targeted users. And this delivery happens through the phishing email attachments or URLs. It uses multiple file types and multiple LOL bins to execute code and downloads the payload from the CNC server. This is one of the quote I found interesting. Not sure who was the author, but threat actors are always looking for new ways to exploit the system. And as we are the blue teamers, we also need to be always creative on the defense part. The OneNote, we are seeing just the abusing of OneNote is just started a few months back, and if it might be or might be not possible to prevent, but we will be seeing in the near future the new developments in this area. It is an interesting way to for attackers to deliver the malware. So we might see some update in the new techniques for OneNote and in the other initial access techniques. So look out for them on the Twitter or on the researchers blogs. So you might get some interesting stuff in the near future for initial access techniques. So this was all from my side. If you have any queries, you can connect with me on the below mentioned IDs on Twitter or on LinkedIn. And I'm really grateful to all of you that you joined the session. I'm also really grateful and thankful to the science team that selecting for talk and giving the opportunity. This is the first time ever I am talking at any conference. Thank you very much to the science team. Really appreciate it. Thank you.